Hi, my name is Szewczyk, aka Annika. Welcome to my channel. Very happy to see you here. And we here talk mostly about adult coloring and art materials and whatnot, whatever pops into my head, really. And it's time for another coloring vlog or journal or just, collection of snippets from here and there that hopefully are of some interest. They're kind of haphazard, there's no rhyme or reason to them. They pretty much happened when I just decided to randomly film what I was doing. And what I'm doing here at the moment, this is a beautiful Lulu's House of Wonder. I love how flat it lays. That my wonderful viewer Michelle sent me. And I think I want to start with this image. Something really, really beautifully domestic about it, and it also feels kind of Scandinavian in its essence. So I kind of want to have this blue, red, gray, maybe color scheme, with maybe some addition of, I'm kind of struggling with this one. There's supposedly a little light here on the wall, which I often would do with yellow, but I don't really want to put yellow onto this image. So I've yet to decide what I'm going to do, but what I'm definitely going to do is that I'm picking a color to do the background here. I want this to be white and blue, those stripes, and I thought I would do them with water-based markers. My gold fiber ones would be lovely for that one, I think. Let's see, maybe I was wrong and I should have gone with alcohol markers, but for some reason I want to use the water-based markers. So that's what I will do. And yes, I do have a paper behind it. So what about my life? It's been busy at work, and busy at home, really. So I haven't really had a good coloring month so far. I don't really have much in like ready or finished pages, let's be honest. Maybe the luck will turn. It has turned sometimes before, that in the beginning of month it feels that there's nothing there, and then at the end of the month all the whips that I just create when I feel like not finishing something or not detailing something, suddenly I get this boost and I finish a lot of whips and suddenly have a decent amount of pages. That's how it usually happens. But this is not guaranteed, of course, because some months I just, won't have much to show at all. And it might be one of these months, and that's okay as well. I'm not going to kind of make it into a big deal, If I just have small amount of things to show you at the end of the month, then I'll show you those small amount of things, and I'm sure we'll all survive the experience. So yeah, it's been kind of a bit busy, and my rhinitis has been acting up. I have a chronic rhinitis, which is not fun, let me tell you that. I don't know if you've ever heard of such a thing as pregnancy rhinitis. I hadn't before I got pregnant. And then for my first pregnancy, I literally could not breathe. The nose was just a decoration on my face, really. It felt like somebody had poured concrete down to my, my sinuses. And sleeping was, I basically did not sleep properly for the whole of pregnancy, and I was absolutely desperate. And of course they wouldn't give you any medications because you were pregnant. And everybody kept telling, oh, this happens, but once you give birth, it's going to pass immediately. The moment you pop out the baby, you're going to be able to breathe again. And that's what kept me going. Okay, it's going to be 9 months of hell, but once the baby arrives, it's all going to be fine. And I can breathe normally again. And that, of course, did not happen. It got a tiny bit better, and I mean tiny bit better. And but I still wasn't able to breathe properly, and it still was all very clogged up and nasty. And my baby was quite demanding as well and didn't sleep, so I was getting absolutely distraught. I was barely functioning and had no sleep whatsoever. And then I was sent to a specialist who pretty much said that, sometimes it doesn't pass, everything else looks fine, it's what it is. You're stuck with it now, and essentially I have steroid spray that I have to, especially during the bad times. Sometimes when I'm feeling a bit better, I forget to use it. And then, for a while I'm okay, and then suddenly I get really bad again, and I go, oops, and start using the steroid spray again. And it's basically for life. And then he also said that, because it's so stressful and so kind of exhausting for your body, that they should have actually let you or kind of prescribed you something while you were pregnant to let you get some rest, because I was absolutely wrecked. Anybody who has tried to sleep with very blocked nose knows what it's like. And now imagine doing that for 9 months. Well, not 9 months, 8.5. It started kind of after 2 or 3 weeks. It didn't kick in immediately. And then he said that if you get pregnant again, you just need to stay on the medication. And therefore, my second pregnancy, that was actually, had kind of more complications. I had weird I just fainted randomly, usually on the stairs, and I had more issues in my back and whatnot, but I still thought that pregnancy was a breeze compared to the first one, because my brains were functioning. I could think and I could sleep, at least, when my toddler would let me to sleep, because both of mine pretty much for 4 years I didn't get any sleep. Who else has had kids like that? It's like, I did not get any sleep. I think I don't even remember exact night when both of them first time ever just slept through night. But I remember the feeling when it had lasted for almost a week and you were afraid to believe it. And you suddenly got some rest and I didn't have to wake up several times at night. Boy, that was great. That was really, really nice. Oh gosh, that was kind of weird tangent now. Down the memory lane. Huh. Anyways, sorry about that. I don't know if I'm going to leave it in and out, but maybe I will, because this was honest moment, just me sitting here and thinking of weird things in the past. Anyways, I will now switch you over to the first clip, and hopefully, there's something that you find in some of these. I have been trying to keep them somewhat contained and shorter so it wouldn't go very long, but sometimes it doesn't work out the way I plan, as we all know. So, have a good time watching. This is a good beginner background because it does not demand that you can apply watercolor very smoothly and evenly. You just dab it onto the paper like that. And since you do it with a water brush, you start with more pigment load near the image, and then as you keep dabbing towards the edges of the page, the color gets fainter because there's more water in the water brush now. And one thing you need to kind of think about is the contrasts here. There's all those multicolored cats. So what I'm trying to do here is that you wouldn't have yellow cat on yellow background, so that wouldn't be much of a contrast, but I have decided for myself that I'm using three colors: pink, kind of a peachy color, and yellow. So this yellow cat, I'm trying to make sure that around this yellow cat I'm using pink dabs. You can see how the paint is running out and it's getting fainter as it's going towards the edge of the page, and sometimes I put some more on and add texture by extra kind of little dots, as you could see there. And now I'm getting to the kind of a blue cats, and I want them to have a good contrast, therefore I'm using warmer tone behind them. I use the cooler tone behind the yellow cat, and now I'm warming up there and I'm going into yellow. And eventually, now I'm doing the peach, and I'm kind of doing this transition into the peach with yellow by dabbing some peach into the yellow again. And now around the big blue cat, the mummy cat, I presume, I'm putting some pink down there as well. Otherwise, there would be, it would be off balance if there wasn't any there, because I'm trying to kind of use those three colors, kind of get them to blend into each other and have the variations between them. But I'm not leaving the pink too big area. I'm also putting some warm colors down so the cat would have a good contrast. And now I'm moving on to lines, covering the lines. It's not an obligatory step, but I like, if I do images in this kind of very unrealistic and very colorful style, I like to color the lines with something metallic, which is just more fun. Anything sparkly, fun. So I'm using a golden metallic marker. They're very nice, very metallic, very shiny. And here I actually changed the color. I had kind of a cool blue for the big cat, and now I'm using kind of like a turquoisey and slightly lighter blue for the aqua cat. And you saw how I was moving, how shiny they are. So really nice. And here I'm starting to kind of add little detailing and little fun bits. So I am adding dots with white. This is Lango 1mm gel pen, one of my favorites at the moment. It's really nicely juicy, very opaque and lovely to work with, never clogs. And I'm just making sure that, I add all dots to the leaves, trying to make sure that they are not uniform, that they have different sizes and kind of different positioning. And I'm adding a tiny bit of this is now a finer gel pen, I think, but I'm adding teeny bit onto the cat as well, but just very little. And now on this background I am adding little, you could see little stars, little diamonds, or almost like diamond shapes, and little dots, which I'm making once again sure that they are not super even, that there's different sizes, little formations, that it's not kind of very uniform. And I'm using different colors of kind of a bright colored gel pens here. Another little star. I'm using blue and pink and white a bit, and now I'm showing how this looks like, and I think it came out fun and it's super easy to make. So there you go, easy background for you. I have this vague idea to make that puffer fish really colorful, but with pastel colors and those spikes really dark. But I need to now create that really colorful base. So I thought about making the body. Let me see if I will. This one is going to be now just pretty bold blending. I'm just mapping the colors down. I don't know yet what color I'm going to do them lips, but I'm sure I'm going to figure that out eventually. And there's going to be a little bit of pencil here, probably, you know, on top of the marker as well, but not too much. I think I want to do the main color work here with the marker. So I haven't yet made up my mind how exactly it's going to look, so we're going to discover it together. Let's just put the colors down. So this was V150. It's Mallow, just in case you have new numbers and it doesn't really work the same way. So I'm trying now to add RV180 Hollyhock. This is kind of like brighter, more pinkish color. I'm just going to add it in some areas. Actually, I'm actually going to use a brush this time. I want to, it's a bit darker color, so I might put more of that underneath the eyes and behind the eyes here, and maybe underneath the fins as well here. It's going to be pretty soaky. I'm not particularly worried of, you know, how even everything is at the moment. I'm just putting color down. So now I'm going to put in some RV030, which is a light hot pink. And that I'm definitely going to work in a little bit. I just want the maximum ink output here, because the plan is to force things to blend, even though they don't particularly want to. But we won't ask them. We'll just tell them to. So if you want to kind of smush colors that on first glance don't particularly want to blend, try to doing it with chisel, because the ink output is much more, and you might get away with it. It might actually. Okay, so I am going to now go in with light prawn, which is R120. Hopefully you can see what I'm showing. And just, you know, to have some variation, so it wouldn't all be the same. They're like bold pastels. Okay, so I'm just smushing it in, and everything that I want to even, I will probably even afterwards. Here I'm just establishing kind of color areas Oops, I went a bit into the lip, but the lip is probably going to be either very dark or possibly red. Anyway, I haven't decided. I just don't know. So, and I'm also dropping it into the kind of cooler areas a bit. Okay. And I need something. Okay, I have here light orange, which is YR070. Yep. And I'm going to, once again, I'm using chisel. Okay. And I'm dropping it into the edges now, but also dropping it a little bit into the cooler areas. Okay. All right. And here a little bit as well, in fact, narrow strip under the belly. Okay. And now I'm going to grab something. It's called Y040 calamari, I think. Yeah. And once again, I'm grabbing the chisel because I'm literally forcing things to blend. And if you want to force things to blend, then chisel is good because it gives you enough ink to do so. Okay. So I'm going to drop it. I just thought it would be more fun if I made it kind of mad colored. Don't know yet if it's going to come out all right. And of course, you also need to take into consideration the fact that all those colors I'm putting down that look very, very intense at the moment and quite dark, as they dry, they will become way lighter. So don't despair yet. Okay, and I'm going to make the eyes. That's just the base. I'm going to do with pencils something with eyes, but I'm making the base of the eye yellow. And then I'm taking Y3 barium yellow. And once again, I'm grabbing the chisel. Thankfully, these ones do have the chisel. And I'm going to the very edge with it. Okay. And now I need to build up things more. I essentially created color areas here. But you can see, even that looks pretty. You can blend anything. Okay, I'm taking the B340. I hope you can see it. Yeah, that's lavender mist, in case you have. And now I'm taking brush again. And here, you know, this is a darker color and cooler color that I did not use on the first go, because it would have been very hard on the first go to actually blend out because of its darkness. But now everything is wet. Everything is pretty much almost self-blending because the whole surface is very wet. So I'm trying to put a little bit around the mouth here, bringing them out, and also underneath the fins. I'm flicking it down. And you see it, I'm flicking it. I'm putting it down firmly where I want it coming from, and then I flick it down. So I'm making here, okay, and now I'm flicking it from here. I'm making here an area, safety area, and then I'm flicking it from here. And I'm flicking sideways. I want a wide flick, okay. Because there's going to be shadow underneath them fins. And now I need to, just gonna be more shadow here as well, the belly area. So I'm doing the same thing, I'm holding it sideways and I'm flicking it in, and everything is quite wet here, so that will help. But the color areas are down. And here as well in front of the fin, I think I'm going to put some darker here as well. And kind of flick it upward a little bit as well. Okay, now we have that first shape down. And then next thing I'm going to take was V150. This one we already used. It's Mayo. Okay. There's already, you know, it becomes almost invisible, but we just want to kind of saturate the page with it more. And it's also works better for blending out the previous color, which was called Lavender Mist B340. So I want and I'm also going to kind of blend out or push it underneath the eyes and around the mouth, where I put down more darkness with that lavender color. I think I might need to pull some of the lavender down from there as well. It kind of looks a bit anemic. That's the lavender color again. So essentially I'm creating shadows with it and shape with it. And I'm going upwards as well, but I need to turn the page so the flicks, I can actually kind of pull the flicks in correct direction. It can't really be done if it's kind of hand is weirdly sideways. You kind of need to be turning the paper. Well, at least I need to. I'm sure there's more experienced and savvy colorists and artists out there who don't have to do anything of the kind. But I'm not. So, okay, I need to, there's gonna be colors pushing each other out. Okay, and now I'm grabbing the Hollyhock, which is RV180. And this is kind of just brighter color. So I'm brightening it up. I'm putting it around this area as well, that I want pretty bright. The whole area here. And here as well, I'm taking it upwards, and I'm also kind of giving shape here with it. Okay. And making sure it's quite intense and pretty dark. Well, not dark as far as pastel colors go. It's one of the more intense ones. This is now Hoo pastel set, so you can easily. And to do things like that, you know, basically kind of forced blending, you do need, oops, I'm out of chat shut. You do need reasonably decent paper, because you're soaking it, you know. If you're doing it on something like Amazon paper, it is going to run, and it's going to run bad. RV030 light hot pink, and it doesn't really add much of a color. Now I'm moving on to chisels again, because I'm working in pretty much big areas. So I don't have to worry about details, although I can do big, you know, detailed areas with chisels as well, to be honest. It's a matter of kind of practice, and I find them actually very nice to use in these areas. But I'm just essentially brightening up things. And I'm also going to run it over this pretty harsh pink line here. Okay, and now I'm going to grab the light orange again, which is YR070. Please focus. Okay, and once again, chisel. I'm making it intense, like I'm going bright. Even pastels, if you layer them up enough, they will be quite bright. But as I said before, it won't be as bright as it looks at the moment. The reason it looks super bright at the moment is that it's still very wet. And this is now going to take a while to dry because I have put a lot of ink down. So, and the next color is, where's my really pale light pro? I'm just evening things out a bit with light prawn. I'm layering, as you can see, getting extra intense. And now we're going once again calamari, that is Y040, and just, you can do anything kind of big and especially round like this if you want them like super colorful. And yes, it is running into the mouth, but that doesn't really, because I was sloppy there, let's be honest, but it doesn't really bother me because I'm putting pencils there anyway, or possibly acrylic markers. That was my own fault that I went, because that my paper doesn't really bleed so super easily, you know. That was purely me going a bit overboard there. And if you wonder why I'm not coloring these spikes, it's because I want to actually make them dark, as I said. So this is going to be kind of underlayer for dark spikes. And once again, it will be much lighter once I have let it dry. I will try to remember to take a photo in the morning so you can see, you know, how much it has settled and kind of self-blended itself. Okay, I think I'm going to make that mouth red or kind of a darker pink. So let me see, maybe R230. Okay. So I'm putting highlights into it with a pencil anyway. That's the lazy way of doing that. So I'm just putting the kind of a dark mid-tone down here. Okay. So now that's the body. I pretty much will leave as is. And even if there are, you know, slight bit of unevenness someplace, the fact that there's all those spikes are going to be dark, you know, blended into the body, it won't be showing, really, you won't be seeing it. This is what the finished marker base looked after I had finalized everything. I am not sure if I'm going to put some alcohol marker into the clouds as well, haven't decided. But yeah, now it's mostly pencil work left. I got this book some days ago and actually filmed right away how it reacts to watercolor, and kind of a little bit of showing you the book, not a flip through, because I prefer to do something in the book before I do a flip through, so you would get a better picture. But I did kind of start showing how paper works in it, sorry, how watercolor works in it. It's late in the evening when I'm doing this clip, and what happened was that I filmed several clips and somehow I managed to delete pretty much the whole first part of it. So this book is published by BBC, and the author of the line art, gosh, I know that it was written somewhere. Okay, her name is Charlotte Rickards, or Rickards. I don't know exactly how to pronounce her. And really like her line art. It's very delicate. It's not overdone. There's not too much of a heavy black line that you have to fight with. So if you're into doing portraits, and if you're a fan of Pride and Prejudice, this is now based on the 1995 Pride and Prejudice, then this book is absolutely fantastic for you. But you know, I will do a proper flip, and once I kind of get a bit further with the page I'm doing there. But I thought I'm going to show you quickly, because as I said, I did show and tell and then I managed to somehow delete it. I don't know how. When I went looking for those clips, they were not there anymore. So I'm just showing something random. Let's do curtains, maybe. So I'm going to use Orange Green. Let's see. I might add some other colors into it as well. So this is a beautiful color that kind of breaks apart. And you know, when you put it down light, it's very vibrant, but you can also go pretty dark with it, and then it becomes much darker, as you can see here. So it's a cool color, Orange Green. I'm using Rosa watercolors here. And why I have those tissues behind the paper, this is me testing essentially how it would work. I have had some positive experiences that if you put these behind the paper like this, sometimes if you pull paint from the top of the page, it can go behind the page. Well, in my case, it almost always does. So I'm trying out if putting, you know, kitchen paper behind the page, it immediately absorbs anything you put in there. You know, any paint that happens to hit the top of the page, you know, above the top of the page. So most of the cases, it's not 100% foolproof, but it really seems to protect the page behind from those leaks. It's not even leaks. I basically pretty much pushing the paint behind the page occasionally. So I don't know if you can see, but the paint stays on top on this book. Yes, it will buckle a little bit, but good news is that I already have tried with a different page that buckled also, but once it dries, it evens out, mostly evens out. Okay, it's going to have a little bit of a kind of a slight wave to it, but it mostly kind of retains the shape. So it looks quite buckly at the moment, but once it dries, kind of the fibers contract again, and it would be not much more smooth or more even. So I'm just tossing in some darker green and just color variations. And you can see, you know, how the edge was sharp here, and I just went over. The kind of downside is that the paint is very easy to reactivate on this paper, even when it has been dry for a day. So either you put all the paint down in the same go, or afterwards, if you want to add layers, you need to add them to kind of a glazing, you know, really gentle, almost don't touch the paper. But I think it looks good. Yeah. I'm just, tossing in some darker greens here. And yes, it looks pretty buckly, but as I said, it'll go away eventually. And I'm talking from experience. I'm not guessing. I know.
I thought I'd show a bit more process, but speed it up and show the process in kind of a bigger area, which gives you better idea how well you can and how long you can work and how freely you can work with paints on that paper. It does have its tricks and it does have its quirks, but compared to most of coloring books, this paper tolerates paint or watercolor paint specifically. Look at that cool effect now. Sadly, I had to take it out because I didn't want it on the curtains. I actually wanted, more or less even look, but you can get really cool watercolor effects, dropping watercolor onto wet surface and so on. So yeah, it's to me anyway, a genuinely good paper. The pencils lay on there okay as well, but I'll talk about that more when I actually do a flip through. But then I decided that since you can see now here that since I can just leave paint sitting on top for quite a while and reactivate it very easily, that I'm just going to put down really dark shadows first. You can see there I'm just creating dark shadow areas because I wanted it to be pretty dark behind her anyway. I'm later going to go in and darken the kind of a front part as well, and I'm just dropping now lighter paint in there to create the variation, but I have much darker effect. And now I'm going to the front and darkening up and creating kind of sharper shadows there too. And it's just endless. I can put down as much watercolor as I want and nothing goes through. And even, dark watercolor like this. And now I'm dropping in the Oralin green again, just to kind of have more color variation and soften it. And once again, I'm putting down kind of a dark creases there, and then just dropping in lighter paint to create those folds on the top of the curtain. I wasn't sure if I was going to show this video at all, but eventually I decided why not? But basically what I'm showing here is how I'm building the watercolor in layers. There was, slight base where I put the color variations down for the tree trunk. With those two woodpeckers, and now I'm adding more depth. I'm adding kind of more shadows, more darkness, more kind of where I feel like the color is too faint, I am deepening it, and so on. And I'm using fairly opaque watercolors. These both, it was two sets. The first set I was using was really cheap. It was something about €3. This one was slightly more expensive, but still very cheap. And they're kind of more opaque Chinese style watercolors. So good for paper that isn't as water tolerant as better papers would be. They are easier to spread and blend out because of their opaqueness. So once again, you can see now here how I'm kind of putting that darker color near the birds, and thanks to the water brush, water brush makes it super easy that the water runs out as I'm moving towards the edges of the page. And here I'm starting to put the watercolor base on the birds. I did most of that page at watercolor in kind of multiple layers. First I put down the kind of color markers for myself, what color should be where. And then I kept deepening and adding shadows. I am not showing the whole process there, just parts of it, otherwise it might be kind of too long and kind of pointless to show you everything. But here basically I'm just showing how I am marking myself where what colors should be. Eventually, I think I also went in with a little bit of a pencil in some areas, but it was absolutely minimal in here. So I am in this instance, I'm actually there's kind of ready watercolor painting already by the initial artist on the opposite page. You can kind of see the edge of it there on the left. So I'm following, I'm kind of grateful that the artists and the book publishers have given me the idea or reference for where the markings should be for the birds. I'm trying to kind of follow the correct coloring and markings for the woodpeckers, and also because of that I'm kind of trying to follow also the color scheme and the logic of the tree trunk and all the surrounding leaves and whatnot that are in the original painting. This can be tricky, but I'm not trying to be absolutely 100% accurate. I'm just taking some pointers for myself there. So these leaves are way more muted in the original image, but I'm just basing them with something that I feel would look nice and kind of brighten the image tiny bit. I don't want it to be as muted as the initial work, which I suspect has also faded over time. I suspect it might have been slightly brighter initially. But I'm still adding some variations to the leaves. I'm adding some imperfections, some darkening, some, either already browned bits or kind of little holes or whatever in the leaves, so they would just look more interesting and more natural. And this is often what makes your watercolor works, or any works, imperfections and texture is what I think gives coloring pages and any coloring or any art its kind of character and interest. So highly recommend include some imperfections in your coloring and in your work.
That's it for today. I hope you saw something there that was either interesting or maybe new, or just chilling and relaxing to watch, because that's all pretty much I'm aiming for here. So you can relax and maybe have my videos on while you are coloring or doing something else, cooking, walking on treadmill, whatever. And hopefully this video fit the bill. Now here I'm, before we go, or before I switch it off, this is kind of a skin combination, lazy skin combination for basing skin. If I don't want to do full, big blends, and I know I'm going to go on top here with pencils anyway, but I want to put some tones down, so I would have to do a little bit less work. Just a second, I'm going to drop some pink into the knees. And blend that a little bit out. Okay, so what I'm doing usually in these, not usually, but at the moment, because I don't really have very steady combinations for any colors, but I have methods of working more so than combinations. Okay, so this is R24, which is dark violet light, and I am just putting some, but any kind of a pale violet or even very pale purple tone would work. Okay, let's put something in the ear, something underneath the hair, and it's just kind of a making a shape here a little bit. This just makes the shadow a bit cooler and makes it kind of darker without having to go very dark. With alcohol markers, having to work very hard. So the next thing I'm here using is R26. It's called Honey, and I'm just putting it over that. What was its name again? R24 Dark Violet Light. Just to take the violet feel away, or the purple away, and just give it a bit of darkness. And if it looks pretty horrible here, the base, don't worry, it's just a base. And now I'm putting on top of it Pastel Peach, which is R18. Okay, it's not focusing again. Oh, there you go, it actually focused. And I'm going over the edges pretty aggressively, so they wouldn't have very sharp edges, because these can be a bit of a pain to get rid of with pencils. But basically I'm going over the whole skin now with that, and that gives me a bit more varied base, so I don't have to do all the work with pencils. But before I'm finished here, I'm going to drop some pink into the cheeks as well here, and I'm going to kind of put them almost underneath the eyes here, and I dab it in. I don't try to do a shape, I kind of dab it in, and it's better if the skin is still pretty wet. If you dab it in like this, it kind of blends itself. So now I have skin base that I don't have to work over very hard with darks. I'm usually not doing huge contrast in that style of a, well, I don't plan to do a huge contrast in that style of a pretty cartoonish image anyway. It's not like it's a realistic face. I always struggle a bit coloring, those faces that look like a bit of a golf balls with eyes. I'll do my best. Anyways, now, once again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a good time. Hope you'll be back again, and have a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, whatever the time is in your corner of the world. Stay happy, stay healthy, and bye-bye.